Dream big, plan smart, build wealth. This is the TFS podcast, where money talk gets real and financial freedom is more than just a goal. Without further ado, let's dive in. Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the TFS WealthCast. Joining me today is Director and CEO, Mr. Pramu Rodrigo. All right, let's do this. All right, Pramu, what are we talking about today? What's the topic today?
You wanted to talk about something interesting that a lot of people don't talk about in finance. What was that, Vishi?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about bridging loans, right? Because at TFS, we're all about giving strategies to our clients. And for people who are selling their property on the market, right? So they put their property out on the market. Now, while their property is out on the market, they're actively looking for a property to purchase after they've sold their property. And let's say they come across an amazing opportunity, right? But they don't have the money to purchase it because they still haven't sold their property. So a strategy that these people can utilize is a bridging loan. So I thought, who better to talk about this strategy with than you?
Okay, Vishi. So, what is a bridging loan? Right. So, a lot of people get really scared when they hear you may have to get a bridging loan. They get really scared. Bridging loan is one of the most easiest loans for me. And, if you ask any of our team members, they'll jump to a bridging loan than a conventional loan. It's that simple. Now, bridging means we need to create a bridge between two transactions. That is what this loan about. So, most common bridging loan is about you're selling a property and you're buying a property. So, the property that you're selling, the money that you're getting to your pocket is the money that you're using as your contribution to buy the property you're buying, right? Now, there's a timing issue. So during this particular transaction, your property that you're selling may get sold and settled after the property that you buy. Who's going to give that money? Because you want that money to even, pay the deposit. Somebody has to give this money. Either you're going to have to ask from your parents or your friends, or even some people take a personal loan as well to screw up the whole thing during that process because they were so scared to get a bridging loan. But bridging loan, what it does is they will do a valuation of the property that you're selling, or if you have a sale contract already in place, they'll take that into equation. They deduct the loan that you have to pay when you're selling that property. Remainder, after cost, they'll use it towards the purchase as your contribution. Now, because this money is not available right now as liquid cash, the bank will lend that to you towards a shorter term, right? Sometimes bridging loans can go from 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Majority of the bank, they won't stick with 6 months. But if you want to get more than 6 months, there are ways. So, bridging loan is a loan facility that a lot of people use, or people have to use when they are selling a property and buying a property for themselves, or even investment. But the selling property is settling after the purchasing property. Is it clear, Vishi?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah.
I have questions to ask, but
Go for it.
Yeah.
Ask some questions. Let's make it fun.
No, 100%. So now there are two loans, right? You said the existing loan on the property you're selling, if they have paid it off, they have that balance. Plus they have to get a loan out for the new purchase. So let's say they have $5,000 left of their existing loan balance. That property is valued at $1 million. So So there's $500,000 of equity there, right? And they're purchasing a property of, let's say, 700,000, just to make the numbers easy, right? So how would that scenario work?
Doesn't make numbers easy, but that's okay.
I mean, you love your numbers, That's why I want to make it. I didn't want to make it too easy for you,
Oh, it's testing me as well. Okay, so when you're buying a $700,000 property, let's look at the property that you buy first. 700,000, you have buying cost, such as stamp duty, lawyer fees. The list goes on. Let's put 5%. 700,000, 5% is 35,000. So now 35,000 get added into the purchase cost. Purchase, right? And then you have to add another $5,000. 40K. So total purchase cost of this property is 740,000. That's what you need. But the property you are selling is $1 million. Like you said, the loan balance is 500. There is a $500,000 coming to your pocket. Maybe after some, lawyer fees and selling cost, etc., you might get about 480,000. Okay, but for the number's sake, let's stick to 500,000. Now, the person who's selling will say to you or your mortgage broker, say, hey, look, I'm buying this for 700,000. I need to get a loan of 600,000 or best case scenario 80% of 700,000, which is 560,000. Okay, now you getting some money, which is about 500,000. So essentially, you only need how much? What's your end debt? 60K.
Yeah, the balance.
Right. That's your end debt. So we call it a peak debt and the end debt. So your peak debt is 740,000.
That's the property value of the new purchase.
New purchase. That's your peak debt.
Yeah.
Right. And because you're selling the property now, the other property. So at that same time, you have a $500,000 as well. Right. So you're paying interest to that 500,000 and a peak debt of 740,000.
Yeah.
So plus 740 plus 500,000, which is what? 1,240,000.
Yeah.
That is your highest level. The bank will assess you. But bank will never going to service you on the level of you are servicing a $500,000 debt and a $740,000 debt, because that is very unfair.
Yeah.
So bank will never do that. So they will reduce that 500, which is your net sales proceedings that you're gonna get, and they will then service the end debt amount to see whether you can do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that 500,000 net proceedings that you getting to your hand, they will also service that for the first 6 months as well, in case something goes wrong for your sale, it get delayed, etc. Does that make sense to you, the numbers wise?
Yeah.
How it's been looked?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, Vishi?
Okay, so now, then when we look at that, now, what about interest rates? So until your current property is sold, are you going to be paying interest only, or are you going to be paying principal and interest on the new loan?
You pay interest only to the bridging component. That's the 500,000. For example, 500,000.
Okay, so on the balance 740,000, yeah,
the equity that you're putting, pay interest only for that. Interest rate is slightly higher, guys, right? You have to remember, this is a short-term lending, right? Banks are not there to serve you. Banks are there to make money. So there is going to be, interest rate is going to be slightly higher. But your end debt of 60,000 is going to be at a market rate, right? But again, it is all depends with the mortgage broker or the bank or financier that you're engaging with. Most worst cases I have seen, the bank has given them the bridging loan rate for the whole lot. For the total. So a little bit expensive, right? And also remember, if you have now this is another cool one. if you have a loan with, let's say you have a loan with ANZ, current loan, the property you're selling, and you're going to Westpac for the new property. Westpac want the ANZ loan to be with Westpac, by the way. Okay, you can't have it with ANZ.
Yeah. So they would want to refinance that.
Of course. If not, you're talking about a second mortgage. That's another subject.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So always remember that loan is gonna come to the finance or the lender that you're gonna be having your final debt with. Okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I don't know about most of the listeners might have gotten lost a bit with the numbers, but of course that's because we don't have any visuals going in and out. But then again, coming back to the whole strategy of using a bridging loan, right? So now we started off saying, you said that some clients, they get scared when they hear the term bridging loans, and they would go down the path of getting a personal loan to put a deposit down for a new property while their current property is on the market to sell. And you said that creates chaos. Why did you say that?
Okay. So let me create some chaos to you. You have a car.
Okay.
Let's say your car value is $30,000. Now you found the car that you really, really like. What's that car? What's the car that you really like to buy?
The car that I really like, I like the Ford Ranger Raptor. It's the badass, right? The real man's vehicle. I mean, I've seen some women drive that, and I have to say, when you see a woman driving a badass vehicle, their attraction appeal just goes up to another level. But that's deviating a bit, so we get back to finance. Quite a lot. Yeah, but I got to be carried away. But yeah.
So now Ford Raptor right now, brand new from the dealership, without too much of upgrade. It's about $100K. Now you're selling your car, right, for $30K. You want to get $100,000 loan, okay? But you tell Ford fellas, hey, look, I'm selling this car. I've got a $30,000 coming into my pocket. I'm going to put that as a deposit. So you give me a $70,000 loan. But when you're buying or you're picking up your Ford Ranger, you haven't sold your car.
So I don't have the deposit.
You don't have the deposit. So now you ask me the question on that aspect. Now when I asked you this, how are you feeling at this point?
I need to get $30,000 for the deposit.
Yeah.
Go down the path of a personal loan.
You're in chaos.
Yeah.
You're going to ask some friends to give you money, or you're going to ask for a personal loan, which rates some crazy high, right? Or you could be in a desperate situation. You want to sell the car for $25,000.
And then I'm short of $5,000. Yeah.
Yeah. These are the chaos that happens during bridging or situations of selling your property and buying a property. The reason for this chaos is you don't understand how the bridging loan works. You don't have a person or you don't have a team behind you who could help you to navigate through this complex time. I would say it's a temporary complex time, by the way.
I guess it all just comes down to educating the customer, right? So it's the job of the mortgage broker to educate the customer, because given the current market, what a lot of people think is a mortgage broker is just there to help them get a loan and compare rates from other banks and other lenders. But in reality, that's not just what a mortgage broker is, right?
Reality is not just the best interest duty.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of customers would think, oh, that mortgage broker is really good because he'll get me the best rates in the market. But I believe now, after working at TFS and seeing how you guys, Sonali, and the team help certain clients, each client scenario is different. So for most of them, you guys give different mortgage structures. I would like to call them smart loan structures. right? Because everyone's scenario is different. So there is a lack of education when it comes to what a mortgage broker is in the industry.
Lack of education. Yes, what a mortgage broker could do, opposed to a banker. But again, to be fair for the bankers, there are a lot of bankers I know who has so much of knowledge, and they are far better than some of the mortgage brokers in the market, because a lot of mortgage brokers don't have the experience of bridging loans. A lot of mortgage brokers don't have the experience of investment loans, restructuring, recycling the debts. They don't understand these kind of things. I mean, it's a very simple entry point, by the way, right? And fair enough. You won't know, and some individuals don't have experience for themselves as well. They're also just starting. There's nothing wrong with these guys. They're also just starting. So, but end of the day, you have to understand when you are in a situation of a complex situation like that, you need to make sure who would be the team, who would be the individual that will navigate you through these complex scenarios towards the goal that you want to be, because you know the goal, you know what you want. It just is a little bit blurry at the moment, but you need those kind of people in your portfolio, I would say.
100%. So I guess this was a very useful podcast to most customers, because they would have not known that they have the option of getting a bridging loan. If they are planning on putting the house out on the market, then while the house is out on the market, they can find a property that they really like. And if it makes sense, if, like you always say, if the numbers make sense, they can give a commitment to the property.
Absolutely. There are few areas banks looks at when it comes to bridging loans. They want to do their valuation. If you don't have a signed contract of sale of the property that you're selling, they will do a valuation. You understand that you may sell the property $100,000 more than the valuer. You cannot you cannot make you can't be upset about this, guys. This is what it is. Banks are always want to make they want to mitigate their risk, right? So the valuers will do exactly what the banks have instructed them. So there are areas you need to be ticking certain tick boxes to be eligible for, or even get the bridging loan, right? So valuations must stack up. That's number one. And then the property that you're buying, that also needs to make sense, right? Now, if you're buying something, example could be if you're selling a property for $1 million and you're buying a property for $3 million, you better have some savings in your pocket, right? You can't expect the bank to give you that the valuation won't stack up, guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it doesn't make sense there, right? You better have other properties maybe you can access equity from to have a property portfolio.
Yeah. So there's another subject which we could talk about, second mortgages. A lot of people are scared about the second mortgage. The moment they hear about the second mortgages, they run. They look for the closest exit. Right.
100%. I mean, not just second mortgages. We can talk about debt recycling, right? So many other strategies that we will be talking about in late episodes. So, guys,
investors, the high class investors, they take use of bridging loans. They take use of second mortgages, and these people have net wealth of property portfolios, right? I'm not talking about the other income or net wealth of their property portfolios are above 10 million. I'm talking about this kind of caliber. They use this. The reason they use it, because this makes sense. I'm not using my money, I'm using the bank's money. There's a good ROI. Rate of return is very high too.
100%. And we will be talking about all of these in late episodes, because the whole point of the TFS WealthCast is by giving people an insight into the mortgage industry of what a mortgage broker is, right? Financial strategies. We've also got Sonali with financial planning. So we're not just going to talk about investing in property. we are going to talk about other sectors they can invest in. They can invest in shares. I know you personally don't like investing in shares, but
Like shares for some reason, but I do have shares, by the way.
yeah,
Right, we are at certain milestones in my life. I have bought shares just to remember those milestones. But to be honest with you, those shares have done well. So
that's how the TFS WealthCast is, guys. We're not just going to talk about ChatGPT generated topics. That's not how we do this. We're going to use real life examples because Pramu Sonali TFS has been in the industry for over a decade. So there's enough and more examples we've got. I mean, when it comes to seasons that we can shoot, we can shoot a lot of seasons. So with that being said, thank you for joining in to another episode of the TFS WealthCast. And if you guys really found this topic interesting and you want to know more about how you can apply for a bridging loan, you can call us up on our hotline 0391933634, or you guys can shoot us an email at connect@tomorrowfs.com.au,
or just visit the website.
www.tomorrowfs.com.au.
Thank you, fellas.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the TFS podcast, where we turn knowledge into action and big goals into real results. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe and share this episode with someone working towards their next financial step. Now, with that being said, until next time, keep building.